Good evening to all. This is the unbiased fan, Brim Reaper. I decided to go live. I don't usually do this often. I'm usually supporting other people, but I have to talk about this because it is becoming uh, a gigantic phenomenon right now. And we're talking about promotional company gang banging in the sport of boxing. It is now turned into a gigantic wildfire thanks to Canelo Alvarez and his shenanigans in regards to the David Benavidez fight and his three-fight deal with the PBC. So, regardless if one person jumps on this live or 4,000 people jumps on this live, I feel like this is something I wanted to discuss and talk about and cover different aspects of it because this is kind of funny, especially since I'm active on Twitter and you know people be gang banging. Sets and Bloods and Crips is in full effect in boxing. So the reason why this is happening is because Canelo Alvarez at one point stepped away from the PBC. Um, was able to get out of the agreement because some people who are gang banging against PBC say they're completely broke. They don't have any money, and I do feel like they have some financial issues. Do I think they're just broke and they don't have no money? I don't know if I can subscribe to that in its totality, but I do see issues and circumstances that are problematic for them. But I'm not wanting to jump out the window to say they're just completely broken and so they just couldn't pay Canelo. I just think they made a mistake in regards to who they offered with the fight. If you offer both Charlos as part of the fight, then you get to the point where you're about to fight Charlo in the second fight, Maul. You know that fight is not financially viable, and now you're trying to change the terms of agreement. And then Canelo held him to it to try to get out the deal, I guess. The issue I have with that though is you knew Maul was not in the best place and space going into this. It was questionable from the jump street because last time I checked, Maul hadn't really fought until this Jose Benavidez fight for over 2 years. So why would you put him on a contract agreement without having revisions set up to protect you in regards to the situation? Maybe Canelo might have forced that as well, saying he didn't want to fight Benavidez. But there's so many reports back and forth about what was and what wasn't, and I don't really want to go too deep into that aspect because that's not what the topic is. I just want to cover how this promotional gang banging is getting like truly, truly vibrant is the word. Vibrant, yeah. So, you know, you got people like Rick Glazier, you got people that hate Rick Glazier, and people go back and forth about this. And I don't agree with everything Rick Glazier says. I look at it, I take it into account, and then I assess the situation and circumstances, right? So, first and foremost, Canelo initially leaving PBC, I guess, is a potential issue for them because he is a financially viable commodity. He's the most financially viable commodity in boxing currently. But also at the same token, you know, you got to fight the right fights. I know he can do 450K fighting a ham sandwich, but eventually that's gonna, turn itself up on his head. So people were screaming, "Oh, PBC's broke," right? Because they didn't want to guarantee the fight with Maul and wanted to do Mungia. But the problem with that is that's a cross promotional fight, with Golden Boy in the zone, and it opened the door for those conversations to be had. But what I see overall is just where some people are 100% critical of everything PBC does. Now, I'm critical of PBC, and I've been called a PBC hater because, I was a person that championed them at one point early in the days. But the fact of the matter is, they have ran through a lot of platforms. They have given very, very, very weak pay-per-views, and we had to pay for them as fans, which, in some of those cases I didn't pay for. And then cost-wise, it was the most expensive out of all the commodities that we have to watch boxing. And I did the financial breakdown in the past, and just to cover it in short, last year for 2023, PBC on the Showtime platform, just to have the Showtime app is going to cost you like $130 a year. And then with six pay-per-views at $80 a pop plus tax, you're looking at another $500. So 500 plus 120, 530. So you're looking at $630 last year if you was to watch all boxing content that PPC had to provide through Showtime. Top Rank is the cheapest. Top Rank had only one pay per view that was $60, and then their app, it went to $10.99 now, but it was $9.99 for most of the year. But we'll just use $10.99 as the marker. So $11 times 12 months, it's about $132. We're rounded up to $140 plus a $60 pay per view. That's $200 for you to get all the content that Top Rank has to offer as boxing. So PBC was three times more expensive to watch all the content than Top Rank. Now, the Zone. Now, my issue with the Zone is in America, they are not giving enough value for the product that we're receiving. Now, I have a yearly subscription, and I striked against the Zone for 2 months to get rid of the app because I didn't like the fact that they doubled the price. And in the UK, you're getting value for your dollar, for your design. You are, because they got the NFL rights. They spent a whole lot of money on different rights and content. And a lot of people who are PBC gangbanging says, well, the Zone is going broke. But the truth of the matter is they spent a lot of money on other content. Those billions of dollars that they spent was to, subsidize themselves as a overall sports platform throughout the world, which I think long term is going to benefit them. Now, boxing wise, here in America, I feel like they have not been fully successful, and the price that we pay as consumers is a little too expensive. Now it's $30 if you get it per month. Now, if you pay for the whole year, you do get a discount, which I have that, and many others do. But the cost of the value in comparison for America, in comparison across the world, it doesn't quite match up. And that's my issue with the Zone, is the cost point. So the Zone's cost point for last year, let's say $25 a month times 12 months. You're looking at about approximately just 250 plus, so about $320 about, and then you have your two pay-per-views that they had last year, which one was only 40, another was 60. So $420 to have the Zone. So last year it cost you $630 to have PBC, 420 to $430 to have the Zone, and only 200 for have Top Rank. So again, you're looking at about $1,200 to $1,300 in total cost for you to be able to enjoy boxing, which is probably more expensive than it's ever been. And unfortunately, we're not getting all the fights that we want. And shout out to the boxing fans who don't care about what platform it is on, and all they care about is having the best fights happening, period. No matter what platform that it's on. But what I'm seeing is people, just going ape shit on PBC on every aspect. And some of those is some of the partners that I rock with heavy. And then, and I ain't gonna mention no names, but he admit he PBC gangbanging against them. And sometimes what I've noticed in trying to have conversations with people, just talking about particular things that I have critiques for, you automatically get classified as a hater, or you dislike something and don't want to look at the truth, or we get deflection about what somebody else is doing, instead of just looking at everybody at face value, right? If we look at the Zone at face value, what they're doing positive and what they're doing negative, and not include anyone else or compare to anybody else, you'll have some negatives and you'll have some positives. Same thing with Top Rank, and same thing with PBC. Hey, what up, 1-2 Kid? What up, my brother? Shout out to you, man. We was eating up we tore up Mirage the other day. Been a beat it. That was hilarious. I'm never gonna forget that. But just continuing on, it's just that it's just very difficult to have honest conversations, whether they're positive or negative, critique or giving praise to any promotional company and what they're doing in regards to providing boxing content for us fans. And it's got to stop at some point. We got to be able to have honest conversations and talk about these things without going to promotional company game banging. I don't know if y'all have a blue flag, a yellow flag, a red flag, if it's, but y'all game banging out here in these streets, and y'all need to stop doing that. I mean, and everything is, and I notice another thing, I guess boxing could be a microcosm of life, but there's a lot of racial undertones in regards to what we're dealing with in boxing. I have people that deflect and say, "Oh, well, you're hating now Heyman because he's black," instead of actually, saying, "Well, I have a critique of what PBC is doing because every halfway decent fight is going through a paywall. You can't have that conversation without somebody giving kickback." But then if I have that conversation about the zone, I might have somebody tell me, well, they'll deflect and say, well, PBC ain't doing this. But at the end of the day, I'm saying, well, hey, the zone is, you said they wasn't going to do pay per views, but now they're doing pay per views and we're paying a higher cost than anyone else to be to have the regular content. But I don't get as much pushback from people who may be gang banging for the zone in regards to those conversations. I can have those honest conversations a little bit more often than I can when I have PBC. And I think that's where the issue kind of lies to some degree, is where it's a lot of people who are really, really dead set on you can't say anything negative about PBC. Nothing whatsoever. It's always got to be spent positive. If you say anything that is negative, is hate, and I'm sorry, it's not. The truth of the matter is, from 2017 to 2024, where we are, the amount of fight dates have decreased exponentially to now where we're looking at 12 to 14 dates. Then they're going to have to stack cards. There's fighters that's leaving. These are just true things. That's not a healthy sign. Do I want PBC to fold? I don't. I think they're great for the high end fights. They produce high end caliber fights. G Funky, salute to you, man. Listen, I want to give a shout out to G Funky for a couple of reasons. One, G Funky is involved in boxing. He's helping boxers who are on the lower tier be able to get light. And this is G Funky is a representation of content creators who are really embedded in the sport of boxing that are helping boxers proceed with their career, because we got to understand this is a very dangerous sport. People are putting their lives on the line to get in that ring for our entertainment. So we have to be honest and give flowers to those who help try to propel the sport. And it kind of leads me into another thing that I've noticed too. There are some guys that are, in the sport of boxing, whatever capacity that they're in, that they feel like they're holier than thou, and they talk down to people who are casuals or who disagree with them. And that does not attract new eyeballs to the sport. You can't be a hardcore per se, right? And then everything you talk about when you talk about someone that may not know or have don't are not informed, automatically you're a casual. You just go to insult him. That does not increase eyeballs onto the sport. Our responsibility is those who are more knowing, which I don't even consider myself as in hardcore. I'm deep in the sport of boxing. I love the sport, but I'm not going to consider myself a hardcore for a couple of reasons. One, I don't catch every single event. I'm not at all the boxing. I'm not at boxing venues. And until probably like 2 or 3 years ago, there were some things I didn't pay attention to in the aspect of boxing. I would say, I'm a hardcore casual. I love the sport of boxing. I'm deeply embedded into it. But to simply say I'm a hardcore, I think I don't want to give myself that much credit, to be honest. But I think it's embedded upon those who are deeply in the sport of boxing, not to disrespect those who show interest in the sport, and to help teach and bring them along and help them understand the dynamics of boxing. And part of that problem that we have with that is that it's a lot of things just like the Wild Wild West when you go to the sanctioning bodies, the rules that they have in place, how they do not have any consistency in enforcing those rules, and changing those rules based on whoever the fighter is. They can bring economic value to their platform, which would be WBC, IBF, WBO, WBA. You know, we see that as hardcore fans, we see the discrepancy that they have in regards to enforcing their rules, changing their rules based on the monetary instead of the sport. And I understand boxing is a business. Boxing is a business. We have to understand that. And I think we're more knowledgeable about the business side more than ever. But to some degree, it's probably a little too much because we put too much of our 2 cents in and be brokers of fights when we're not, you know. But at the same token, the business can't supersede the sport. When the business is way superseding the sport, the value of the actual product takes a hit. We need to remember that this is a sport, it's competitive. We want to see the number one or the number two guy face each other. In other sports, they don't have that issue because of their structure is set in stone, where at the end of the day, the best is going to play the best, and whoever wins is going to be crowned the best. In boxing, we unfortunately do not have that as consistent as we would like. We have situations where it's wrong side of the street, right? You need to leave this promotional company to go over here, and that's where my issue with the Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence thing played. I got bashed for a long time saying I was an Errol-sexual. I was caping for Errol because I tried to be fair to Spence and Crawford, but as time went by, I felt like Spence was letting PBC dictate everything and not actually make the fight. And I've had this argument with multiple people that I don't think that they really wanted that fight in the first place. And when you got Terrence Crawford telling Spence, thank you, you're the reason why the fight happened, it tells me he went against the grain. And, you know, all promotional companies are guilty of this to some degree. So I don't want to, dog pile on PBC and say they're the only ones doing it because that's not the case. Every promotional company is going to protect their fighter to some degree to put them in the best position to be able to make the most financial gains for their company. And sending a fighter over to another promotional company to fight or doing a joint venture may not be advantageous at that time, depending on who that person is and that product and that fighter. So I understand that, but it's just too often that it's happening, and it's happening in American boxing. If we look at the landscape, worldwide boxing is doing fine. Japan right now is having a renaissance. This is their golden era. In Japan, they have 9 world champions currently. I think that is the second most champions. When has Japan had that many champions at one time? I don't think there has ever been a time that Japan has had this many champions, and respect to New Way because I truly love the fact that he is just going out making fights, not doing a bunch of bull crap talking, Twitter beef, showing sparring footage from 10 years ago that I could give a flying fuck about that doesn't have any bearing on the actual fight that we want to see, right? That's what we're missing in American boxing is just guys going out making the fights and giving us great fights to see. Activity matters. And unfortunately, too many of our fighters are not active enough. And that goes to the Keith Thurmans, the Errol Spences, and even Terrence Crawford is in a position where he's not as active as he should be as an upper echelon fighter. And I think those things hurt the value of each particular boxer because when you're fighting more, your visibility is more and more people are seeing you. And then on top of that, if you're putting every fight through a paywall, less people are going to see you because less people are paying for those fights. I think we're prematurely putting fighters on pay-per-view, right? To meet financial demands without actually building them up to create the demand that will actually, you know, put the proper value on them to become a true pay-per-view star. But I don't know, man. I don't have the answers, Sway. I just know that it is way too many people too happy when PPC is falling and looking bad, and there's way too many people not holding PBC accountable when they're making errors or doing things that may not be beneficial for the entire sport of boxing. It goes both ways. It's not one way. And that's why I try to, look at it objectively and not subjectively. Some people might call me biased, and I'm a human being. I'm never going to be 100% unbiased about everything. That's just not realistic. But I'm going to try to, when I look at the landscapes, when I'm watching and seeing what's transpiring, and At the end of the day, PBC currently, it looks like they have two events. We have one that's coming up on the 30th, and we have one that's look like it's set in stone for June 15th, which it was smart of them if they're doing so to have Javante Tank Davis fighting Frank Martin and then adding Benavidez' fight as a co-main to the event. If they do that, smart move on their part, adding value to the card because a lot of these fights are not truly pay-per-view worthy. Frank Martin, solid fighter. He's a contender. Is he a pay-per-view guy? No, he's not. So, adding another fight to at least pique enough interest will help. But March 30th, I don't know how many people are actually going to pay for this pay-per-view. Keith Thurman hasn't fought in 25 months. And I'm sorry, I don't see Keith Thurman winning that fight to save his life. We have too much history showing any fighter that's been inactive for 17 months or more, their record is a perfect one with zeros. The only fighters that can overcome that is generational talents. The Mayweathers, the Sugar Ray Leonards, those are the guys, the Muhammad, those are the guys that can be able to overcome that. I don't think Thurman is a generational talent. He's a good fighter. That's where the buck stops. What he will need to do for 12 rounds to be able to have great lateral movement, be able to pick and pot shot Tim Tszyu for 12 rounds. And I just don't think he's going to be able to have the stamina to pull that off for 12 rounds without physically paying for it. And he's fighting a body puncher, and he is got a glass body. So there you have it in regards to that fight. You know, it's not a pay-per-view worthy fight, but the overall card is a good card. It's a good card. If it was not on pay-per-view and they was rolling this out on Amazon, then I'd be like, man, that's a good rollout for a free card. But I expected more for the first Amazon card. And I might get called a hater for saying that. But I think it's fair to say that we should have expected more for the first Amazon card, right? And then there's no promotion coming from Amazon. I have not seen anything on Amazon, and we're literally right now less than a month away from the fight. I am waiting for their own, breakdown and countdown to the fight promotional wise, and we have not gotten that. And that's why people are probably saying, hey, PBC doesn't have the money because it doesn't look like Amazon is funding PBC to pay fighters. They might be giving them for the budget for the staff and all that, but I just don't see it. And shout out to QT. Let me read what QT is talking about. Thurman could have been a great fighter. Think he would have soundly beat Errol before Errol's accident. QT, it's like how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop. The world may never know, bro. One or two or three and take a bite. Thurman is more skilled than Errol Spence on surface, but we never got the fights. And that's the whole thing about this, oh, you cross the street and all this, but there's plenty of fights that we should have gotten directly from PBC that we didn't get when they were on the same side of the street. And that is one of those fights. And I don't think we ever will see that fight, Um, yeah, Thurman, he could have been. I don't know. I think Thurman has a ceiling, though. I think Thurman just is a good fighter, had a good skill set, could bang a little bit, could box a little bit, could do a little bit of everything. But great, I don't know if he would ever been that. Plus, his injuries and all that. But he's at the point now where age is going to catch up to some point. And some people, he's a dog. It's like plus 550 odds. So there's going to be people putting money on him, because his talent level, because skill set wise, he has a more better skill set than Tim Tszyu. But Tim Tszyu is active. Tim Tszyu is not depreciating, he's appreciating. He's gaining more skill. I see him being more patient in the ring. His timing is getting even better. He's a problem, and I think he's going to knock Thurman out. Mid to late rounds. For me, it's going to be between round 7 and round 10. That Thurman is not going to be able to run around anymore, and he's going to slow down a little bit. And again, boxing sometimes is a fight of inches, man. One slight wrong move that you can't do as fast as you could do 4 years ago will be the punch that puts you to sleep. And I think it's going to be a combo. It's going to be a body shot that led to a hook, and I think Thurman's going to get put out. Which I really hope that Tim Zoo and Terrence Crawford get in the ring. That'd be a phenomenal fight to see. I look forward to it. I don't care what platform it be on, but I just want to see the fight. And I think we need more fans to say, I do not care what platform the fight is on. I just want to see the best fights. And if it's the best fight, I'll be willing to pay for it. The reason why there's so much stealing going on, per se, is because we get so many trash can fights on pay-per-view that people gonna put their is putting their foot down and saying we're not paying for this shit no more, guys. We're going to get the Fire Stick Boys out, and I'm more worried about PBC in regards to the 30th fight because I think the Fire Stick Boys might come out to play because Rolly and Pitbull, it's a good fight. Don't get it twisted, it's a good fight, but both of these guys are known for losing the tank. They're not known for their wins. They're known for their losses. And don't get me started on Rolly, because Sugar Barroso was the champion, not Rolo. To me, Sugar Barroso is the champ. And I hope to see Sugar Barroso in the ring in the upcoming months very soon because he deserves it. And that's another problem. There's fighters that deserve to be in positions that they're not in, and some fighters that don't deserve to be in positions are in position. And there's no knock to Ryan Garcia, but he applies. But he does have a following. He knows how to market and promote himself, and that matters. Skills don't always pay the bills. Skills pay the bills when you're in a fight, but skills only get you so far in the sport of boxing. You have to market yourself. You have to be visible. You have to get the attention of the masses. Us hardcores are a dwindling number. I don't think it's increasing. I think it's decreasing. So I'll just say every single person that is a deep, die-hard boxing fan, anybody that you see that's a casual, don't insult them. Teach them. Show them. Help them understand what an L step is, what a pivot is, so they know what they're watching in the ring. You know? Maybe take someone to a gym. Let them, spar some. Just doing little certain things that help grow the sport. Because we're not growing the sport on a fan level because we're insulting each other instead of bigging each other up or each one teach one and the people that don't know. And that's what I see, having a bird's eye view if I'm looking down at the boxing landscape. But I swear, guys, I need all you to stop promotional company gangbanging. I be on Ness's on the boxing voice. Shout out to Ness. Shout out to Ringwalk Danny. And I hear a whole lot of promotional company gangbanging, right? Shout out to my man Jules. He is very informative, but he even promotional company gangbangs. The thing is, he admits it though. If you can admit it and stick to that gun, I'm gonna respect it, even though I'm gonna have moments where I may disagree with you. But to do this and then try to act oblivious that you're not doing it is the problem that I'm having. It's just too much deflection, not enough accountability, and we got to be able to have those difficult conversations in a respectful manner without disrespecting people. And unfortunately I've experienced the disrespect way too often, and I'm a hot-headed individual. I'm older guy. I think I've grown some, but until the day I leave Earth, I'm gonna continue to grow and learn and try to cultivate myself. But dealing with certain people, man, it's been a doozy. I had a person tell me, I'm glad my dad's dead. And like, if I was in front of this dude, I'd be in prison because I probably would have beat him to death. Like, you got to be kidding me. You ain't going to talk this greasy. But the internet allows that. It gives people a platform that would be otherwise silent. No one would give a flying F what they think, a voice. Now, QT said it's too late. Growing the sport today consists more of A side, B side, and that's the knock I have on PBC. They rely on celebrity worship to make their business. QT, I get that from Ellerby. When he talks about you don't know the business and all this, And sometimes De La Hoya does that too. Oscar, I've told him. I said one person asked him a basic question that a casual person who may not know would ask him, and then he just turns around and said, "You don't know shit about the sport of boxing." Like, bro, you don't grow the sport that way by insulting your potential consumers or consumers. You can't slap somebody and say, "Now buy my product." That's not. So QT, you probably right, bro. You probably right, and that's sad. But I don't think it's too late. I can't say that because if that's the case in 1977, they would say it's too late for the NBA while everybody else was well, they were out there sniffing coke and they was on tape delay, right? They could have said that about the NBA then. And look where the NBA went to. Now the NBA got their own problems right now because the sport, the game, it's not a beautiful watch. The defense is lacking, and everybody talking about they so skilled, but they don't have any fundamentals anymore. I feel like the players in the 90s and the 2000s would be whooping these guys behind because they're more fundamentally sound. These guys are having to learn fundamentals that they didn't even have, that they don't have, and they should have learned these things in high school and college because this is all about skills and talent instead of raw fundamentals of basketball. But back to boxing. Um, I just hope to see more positive, respectful dialogue amongst us all. Um, Holding all parties from promotional company. See, I gotta stop what I'm saying because stop the presses. It is E3 the Black Picasso, aka Yeah, I said it podcast. So y'all subscribe to, matter of fact, subscribe to G Funky Boxing, subscribe to my man, Yeah, I Said It podcast. This is my guy. We always go at it about basketball. He just came in talking shit to me, talking about the 90 era sucks. Stop it. The most overrated bullshit I ever watched. He says that because he's a Kobe Bryant fan, and Kobe Bryant is the second best shooting guard of all time. And I say that, and he'll say that I'm disrespectful because I have Jordan over Kobe. Come on, E3. I understand that Kobe's your guy, bro, and I respect it, but you got to take the cape off, man. You can't be super E3. You can't be flying in the air saving them, bro. Rest in peace, Kobe, because he was great. Oh. I'm not going to do this with you, E3. This is not the conversation that I came on here to have. I did not come here to talk about Jordan and the 90s and basketball. I came here to talk about boxing and promotional company gangbanging, you know? And matter of fact, E3 is one person that does not promotional company gangbang. He likes to try to keep it, straight up. And he just talks about the issues at hand, even though sometimes he be wrong as shit. Because he was talking about Tank at the face of boxing. I was looking at him crazy, and then he talking me crazy. Like, bro, face of boxing is a combination of multiple factors. When you face the face of boxing, you get your highest payday ever. You're doing certain things consistently. And Tank just arrived on the Forbes list last year. He just got here, and it took a Ryan Garcia fight to get there. Let's see him do it again. I don't think him and Frank Martin cracks over 300K. I don't, because no one knows who Frank Martin is. If I was to walk down the street and say, "Are you a fan of boxing at all?" And they say, "Yeah." Okay. Do you know who Frank Martin is? Out of 100 people, 90 gonna say no. Maybe even 95. So I'm gonna go ahead and just say it. My issues with every promotional company. And I'm gonna leave PBC for last so people won't say, "Oh, you just gonna dog pile on PBC." Top Rank is absolutely cheap. They don't do the best job promotion wise overall when you reach a certain level. Um, they put on some fights that are whack. They put fights on wrong dates. Um, but the positive is they groom fighters very well. A lot of the stars we have today started from there, past and present. So they groom guys well. They have a really great structure that allows them to always be financially viable. And cost effective wise, they are the cheapest in regards to all platforms for us American fans to be able to consume boxing. In the last 2 years, Top Rank has only had 2 pay-per-views. I appreciate that to some degree. But on the same token, that means that as well you're not putting on as many big fights. But last night we got a fight of the year. That was a beautiful fight. I enjoyed that fight. And I'm watching fights from work. That fight was phenomenal, man. So I think that's a nutshell of what I see from Top Rank overall, from top to bottom. There's positive and there's negatives, right? Now, when it comes to the zone, I think the zone has a certain structure. When you have Golden Boy and Matchroom on there, they give you a lot of fights. You get a chance to see a lot of guys. There's a lot of fight dates. So there's a lot of guys that they'll be on their platform. They'll be able to be consistently in the ring fighting 2 to 3 times a year. That's important because that helps their viability. Um, Also, they don't charge a lot for their pay-per-views. Um, but there's the bad. In America, they're the cost doesn't match the value. Now in the UK, they're getting a lot more value than we are here in the States. If you go month to month, you're paying $30. Now if you're doing, yearly, I got it the last time before it went up again, $20. But now I think it's $24.99 for anybody to get it for the year. So if you're paying for the year, you're paying almost $300 to have the zone, right? Now my issue gonna be with them is they're gonna have more pay-per-views, right? I anticipate that. Now, this boxing chaos is only $40 though. No, this is the Saudi, so it's a little bit different conversation because they're not in it to make money. They're in it for visibility to help promote tourism and help their image. So they're not gonna charge $80 for a pay-per-view. And I think this knockout chaos card is pretty solid. And I'm gonna pay my $40. Now the time is going to probably suck for some people, but for me, it's perfect. 3, 4 o'clock on a Friday, I get off work, I go to sleep, I wake up, boom, it's on. I'm watching, right? But I think the zone got to really, they have opportunity to increase their blueprint in the States, even though they did not do a great job the first time. But right now, they have a really strong foothold worldwide. And I think they can piggyback that into something positive within the States and be able to provide fighters the opportunity to fight as much as possible. But I think cost wise, they have to increase the value for the cost that we're getting for the Zone app. That's got to change. That's got to be better because it's not that great. It's not. Now in the UK, they got the NFL rights and all that. So there's content they're getting there that applies to them that creates more value. We don't quite have that yet, and I hope they can work towards to doing so. Now with PBC's problem is too many inactive fighters. Fighters is only fighting 15 to every 15 and 17 months. And these are the best fighters, some of the best fighters. That should not be happening. Every halfway, I'm not gonna say decent, but halfway good event is a pay-per-view. It's going through a paywall. And this was happening with Showtime. Now, with Amazon, I don't see it getting any better. I see it only increasing. Every event is going to be a pay-per-view event for the most part. So PBC puts on great events at the top level. They're top heavy. They do the event the Ryan Garcia tank was produced well. It was enjoyable. Even though I knew that it wasn't a 50-50 damn fight, they did a great job promoting it. And I got to give credit to that. They do big events better than the rest. But that's where the buck stops. The consistency of utilizing the funds that you got to put on enough good fights where you're not overpaying guys to fight Joe Bubblegum is why the visibility and the way it looks for them is negative. It may not truly be that way. It may not be truly in the dumps, but optically, when you see less fight dates, more fighters inactive, and you going through network to network to network, it does not look positive. It doesn't look like growth. It doesn't look like stability. And if anybody mentions this, the gangbangers come out and say, you just hate PBC, or if you're not black and you say this, you're a racist. You just hated a black man's on. And I hate that. I hate that. Be scared, E3. Be scared. That's my Arkansas avatar. If you scared, bro, you get a puppy. You heard me? Get a puppy, E3. Get a puppy. You going live tonight, right? Because I'm about to end this. I know you going live tonight, right, E3? So I can pull up on you. Because you know how you do it, Mr. Reschedule. Let me stop acting up. But listen, I just wanted to talk about the essence of too much promotional gang banging, y'all. Y'all got to stop this shit, seriously. Y'all should only want to see the best fights. It shouldn't matter if it's on PBC. You got to cross this side of the street. If Devin fights, think he got to do this, he got to do this. Why the fuck do y'all care so much? Y'all care too much. It's like y'all the managers of Tank. Y'all should want to see the fight. Y'all act like y'all don't want to see the fight. That y'all don't want your fighter to be in the best high quality fight for our entertainment that we pay for. You guys need to get a fucking grip out here in this world and stop the madness. And this is just an unbiased conversation. Salute to everybody. I appreciate you. Anybody that watches on the playback game. I ain't gonna make no promises that I'm gonna be active and doing lives and shit like that. It's not necessarily my cup of tea, but I will talk when I feel the need to, and it was that time to. So everybody have a blessed one. E3, you better go live, or I'm gonna pull up on you. I'm gonna text you and get on your nerves. But you know what time it is. Unbiased Brim, sign it off. Y'all have a blessed day. Enjoy the boxing and stop promotional company gangbanging. Good night.